Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Conversations in Time podcast. So, over to the guys.
Hello, and welcome to another Conversations in Time podcast. I'm John N.
And I'm Ian G.
I was going to say, and you are?
I'm
N as well.
Yeah.
You're still here. Right. So, we're back in the counterfactual bus on the way to the counterfactual universe. Where are we heading today then, Ian?
I've got to be honest, John, I've got a slight idea. Where are we? We're
Said.
of two things where I can't remember one.
So at the end of the day, we're sort of heading to 2007, and Steve Jobs isn't going to announce the launch of the iPhone as a smartphone. And the smartphone revolution essentially didn't happen. So we still have mobile phones and still texting, but the concept of a mobile tablet or a mobile, there wouldn't have been a tablet at the time, mobile laptop didn't happen or, didn't come to the market.
Okay, yeah.
That's where we're thinking. So we can talk about what the impact of smartphones has had in the last 2007. I mean, there were smartphones before. Apple didn't invent the smartphone, but I think without the impetus of the iPhone, it would have fizzled out. Nobody else was going to, the ones that were on the market were pretty poor, very clunky, didn't hold together very well, was not a good experience. And it wasn't until Apple actually produced a market leader that concept sort of exploded. So we've still got mobile phones. We've still got, I've forgotten the name of the bloody brand now.
Nokia?
Not Nokia, the other BlackBerry.
BlackBerry, yeah.
That's right. So BlackBerries were all text, emails, very work-oriented. So that's still a focus for people, and we're going to move it forward beyond there. So you could argue that, so it was 2010 when the iPad was launched, and I'm trying to remember if there were any other tablets. So, the internet and applications were still pretty prevalent even in 2007. There's no doubt about that. It was, if you wanted to surf the internet when you were at home, you had to have a computer, a laptop or a desktop, which many people had. I think the advent of tablets just made it more, it was a cheaper option for surfing the internet, more comfortable rather than sitting with a laptop on your lap and then.
Yeah, but there was those little laptops. I can't remember what they were called now, because even at work they were offered around. My mum had one. But anyway, what was it? Like a micro or something, was it? I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, I agree with you in principle.
Okay,
it was a generation of sub, and this still is for all I know, but of sub below the iPad as the laptop. Sorry, but I can visualize it. And at work, the processing power was poor. But they said if all you do all day is emails and Word documents, these are fine.
That's right. Yeah, Gordon Bennett. Yeah, maybe we are getting too old and our memory's going. It wasn't even that long ago.
But I'm
20 years.
not sure what if there's a generic term. I think it was, like a mini laptop. But anyway, we digress somewhat. But anyway,
So
still a keyboard.
Yeah. So here we are, 2007, 2008. Got a mobile phone, potentially got a BlackBerry, so I can look at my work emails.
A notebook. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah.
So when you get home, when you're commuting, so if you commute on public transport, you'd essentially do what you used to do, which was read the paper, read a book, stare out the window. And then when you got home, if you wanted to go on the internet, then you'd get your laptop out or go and log on to a desktop. The applications, things like Facebook, they were around then. Was it 2004, was it? Facebook? It was 2004 for Facebook, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of it, yes, but I think that was sort of some little experiment in diversity campus or something. But in terms of it being around, it was mid 2000.
Yeah, so MySpace was a fairly sizable application before Facebook, wasn't it? And that wasn't. No, but you never hear anybody talking about MySpace on a handset, on a mobile phone. Don't even know if there's an app for it. But anyway,
well, I never had MySpace. I don't even know what it is. What was it?
Wasn't that the original? That was a social networking thing.
Well,
There's
maybe
share photos and
I don't know. I never had it, but I mean, it certainly didn't take off. Let's put it that way.
I thought it was it started to, and then for whatever reason, Facebook just was better and appealed to people. So I'm pretty certain MySpace had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of.
Well,
users.
I underwrote it, and I've got God for everything else. But as you say, maybe.
While you just quickly talk, I'm
Yeah.
going to ask Chat what the peak number of MySpace
Ask Chat.
Chat GPT.
All right, okay. Yeah, so there was in the UK a more popular thing called Friends Reunited, which was about, it was kind of school, I don't know if it was exclusively so, but it was school based, where you put in your school and year and stuff, and that would find, obviously people had to do it mutually, and that would find people from school that you'd been trying to avoid for the last 25 years. And that bizarrely was sold off to ITV Television, Independent Television UK, for a couple £100 million, and within 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years was worth nothing. So if you wonder why British Television or ITV went down the tube, that's probably why, buying stuff that's worthless. But Friends United was certainly the British.
So MySpace, I've got,
Yeah.
so it's a lot bigger than you think it was. 115 million registered users in 2008 was its peak. And it was replaced by Facebook because it was a cleaner design and it had a broader appeal.
Okay.
So interesting. So it wasn't small. 115 million users is still pretty big. So
Yeah, no, it's big.
so anyway, if you could things like Facebook, I don't think would have been drastically different, regardless of having a smartphone. If you didn't have a smartphone, I mean, I think that it wouldn't necessarily be as detailed. People's lives wouldn't be as detailed with a photograph here, there, and everywhere what they're doing. I know we'll come on to some other applications associated with that, and they wouldn't be there. But I think that Facebook as an application was something that hit the spot at that time of the internet growing. I don't know whether you agree with that.
Well, I'm not sure, because I mean, Facebook's been through a variety of, kind of the word, lives, shall we say. I mean, it looks the same as it always did, but it's not used by young people anymore. It's used for family occasions, and it's, in my experience, I'm not an expert, but in my experience, it's always used for following hobbies. So it's difficult to imagine that people are sharing family events and hobbies if they can't easily attach photographs. So if you don't have a phone that you can, send photographs to something in, what do? Is that you have to send an email to your laptop from your phone, or does your phone even have a camera? But you have to take a digital photograph somehow and somehow send it to another device, which you then load up onto Facebook, or whatever. So it's difficult. If you can't do it directly, you have to do. People are lazy. If you can't do it directly, I mean, people are lazy, can't even bother doing it in one step, never mind 2 steps. But if you've got it, and you've got an air gap, inverted commas, between the device you're taking a photograph on and the device you need to post it on, i.e. a laptop, I can't see that taking off at all, to be honest.
No, you're right. I think you're right. I think that Facebook would have, whether it would have grown, probably not to the numbers.
No, I mean, Friends Reunited, from my vague memories, had no photographs or anything of that. And when I was saying it couldn't do, but people weren't loading photographs on it. And that's when, again, it was a wee bit before the explosion of smartphones, but it was around for the early years of them. And, there wasn't a great big cache of photographs in there. And again, if it's all about touching base with old school friends, there's only so many photographs you can put in there. I mean, most people don't have photographs of their school years prior to 20.
So its evolution would have been quite different. I mean, that's what
Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have evolved. I don't, it's social media without an immediate means of sharing video, and it doesn't have to be unique video. It doesn't have to be your video. It has to be video you've seen. Look at this video of this person, and you share it.
Well, we aren't talking about videos yet, and that's another interesting one. I mean, I think that there's some key things associated with videos and the mobile phone. And you're right, the mobile, without a mobile phone, it's almost like what wouldn't have happened. So what if there wasn't a smartphone? Sorry, not a mobile phone, smartphone. Then what wouldn't have happened?
Well, I think we have to define.
So, I mean, Facebook was already there, so that either would have survived in some form or other, but it was there. It's the applications that came later, because the technology was there. So if the technology was there, things like, so TikTok, for example, would even if you had tablets, I don't think TikTok would have been a viable option as an internet application.
Yeah, unless, I mean, to a large extent, you're looking at a dark age, because without without the ability to I mean, 50% of the population over a certain age don't do 3/4 of these things anyway. But if people want to sit in
Amongst that,
well, I was just about to say, and I didn't. If you want to sit in the dark ages, but you interact with other apps on your phone. It's not all about Facebook, is it? But if we're assuming there's no smartphone, which means that the telephone is a textual stroke audio based application device. And an application probably doesn't exist either. But if you're not able to social media, if you're not able to share something that somebody can look at immediately, it's not going to happen. It's going to happen to a certain degree, but it's not going to happen to any degree. Now, the interesting thing is the textual-based systems, such as Twitter. I'm not going to call it anything else other than Twitter and Blue Sky and such like. They probably could, because they're texture-based. Yes, there's lots of links in there to videos and pictures and news articles and the rest of it. But again, much of that is textual-based. So you're reading something else. You're not. Yes, there are videos, but again, if those aren't there, it would exist, but in a different form. I think the things like Facebook and TikTok, they don't exist. I mean, Facebook does it, right. Withers and dies on the vine sort of thing.
Yeah. So what? So the question would be, what would the internet look like then? What do you think?
What do you mean by the internet? Really, doesn't? I mean, what would you?
Well, because
internet's the physical connectivity. When do you mean?
So what would you? So you come out
cyber
a laptop,
cyberland, whatever you call it.
Yeah. So the World Wide Web.
That's not even right either, is it? It's cyber world. What's the term? Not cyber world. It's cyber something, isn't it?
Space.
Cyberspace. But yeah, anyway, what would cyber?
Okay, so what would cyberspace look like? So you come home. So people come home from work. They've got a laptop. The internet, cyberspace is there. You can still click on applications, or you can go on a browser and you can log into stuff.
Here's what I think it looks like. If you think of sort of semi-corny, but even semi-decent attempts in the past in films to illustrate the future, it's not people tapping on bloody 6-inch pieces of plastic, is it? It's people interacting via their voice when they get home. Think of, is it Back to the Future #2, where what's his name goes into his house and speaks to something, and it doesn't really work very well. And then you think of all the other films. Star Trek, Next Generation for the 90s, they speak to the computer. There's zillions, so maybe that's how it works. So if you've got no apps...
Yeah, but why would you develop text or speech to text type functionality to do what? I mean, you've got to have... Yeah, that's just a means to an end.
So if you remove social media out the...
Because the first step would be you have to type it in.
The social media... Yeah, but these people who are... the people in our original universe who are developing social media, and they still exist in our alternate universe. What are they doing instead? Well, they're developing systems that allow people to interact, but not through not through a device. So, question is,
but I don't think somebody is a Instagram software developer suddenly knows how to do speech synthesis. And why would
speech synthesis is that's just the portal. It's the question of what do you do with a device? An Alexa.
Yeah, but you've got to have software that's doing something. So what's the software doing? Forget that you're talking to it.
Well, what you talking to. What do people? So let's take social media out. So you're not doing social media, but what else do people do in cyberspace? So you've got business, you've got shopping, you've got entertainment. You've got education, all of those things. The scenario could be, what would the world look like? You walk in the room, and rather than going on your phone and having a look at what some dipstick has said on Twitter or whatever, you ask the device in your room to show me on my TV the same thing.
But I think you've taken one or two steps further forward, and we haven't explored what the first steps are before you actually get to Star Trek and computer do this.
Yeah, but
or Alexa do that.
A smart speaker. I mean, the premise was there's no smartphones. A smart speaker is not a smartphone.
No, I know, but
so why wouldn't it?
What I'm trying to say is, well, what you've broadly talked about what cyberspace looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So shopping, education, entertainment.
There was 5. I can't remember what the other 2 were. Should have written them down. Information, I think I said. News, which is separate.
Yeah, well, that's entertainment, I suppose.
Well, I don't find it very entertaining at the moment, but never mind. But it's
But yeah, but that's
information.
entertainment is so the news is something that's on the TV, and
Well, the news isn't on the TV. The news is.
what I'm saying is that don't forget.
Well, I don't watch news on the TV, but I mean,
But you wouldn't be looking at it on the internet either because
It depends what you mean by TV, isn't it? Because a TV, a TV is a box in your room, but it's a whole thing as well. It's a network. It's a TV company. The TV company will still exist, but whether they're broadcasting it, so you think, we're looking at alternative histories, and we're talking about quite a long time, technology-wise, 20 years. You walk in your house and you say, "Tell me the news." And it throws up the news on the TV. It's not the TV company are not
I'm not saying,
broadcasting that.
but I'm still, for me, that is, you can't even do that now. And
You can.
well, you sort of can, but that's still.
But my point being is,
years
but the
away.
people who aren't.
And you're talking about that being there donkeys earlier because we haven't got a smartphone. And I don't believe that's true. I don't think anybody would be looking at speech recognition without an application where you've typed it in first.
Well, I think it is true. It's the whole point, Johnny. We're having we're looking at alternative. The thing is,
I don't understand what the driver is for somebody to say, "Oh, well, I don't know what I'm going to use this for, but I'm going to add speech recognition is something."
Well, because
it's great.
It's what was the driver for social media?
Well, not being a user of it, it's difficult to say, but obviously it hits.
I'll tell you what the driver for social media was like anything else. It was to make money. It makes money. Facebook makes a hell of a lot of money. I mean, it's all quite clear how they do it. It's all advertising and what have you. Twitter used to make money. It made money at least 1 year.
I know, but would Facebook make money if the only way that you ever could use Facebook was on a laptop or a desktop?
No, I agree. So I said social media is dead. Doesn't happen.
Right. So would the applications make money in the same way if you didn't have a smartphone?
Well, there's only so much money to go around. So the answer is yes, because advertisers will advertise and want to know their audience.
So you're on a news site. Sorry, you're on a education site. Right. So how's that going to work if there's going to be adverts then? So somebody's developed some.
Well, the way how it works is you've
got adverts in them.
You don't have adverts. You have a subscription.
So okay. So all I'm trying to get to is
you have a subscription.
Cyberspace would be a lot more without smartphones. Would be a much more subscription-based cyberspace. So if you want to see stuff, you've got to subscribe and pay.
Not for every application. I mean, pornography doesn't generally have a subscription model base. So I don't quite know how these porn sites make the money. Not being a massive user of them, I'm glad to say, but they exist. So they don't exist because people feel sorry for people who have to look at pornography. So there must be some mechanism by which they're making money.
But what we don't know is whether there's a smartphone element to how they make money from that perspective. I don't know. So isn't one of the things that they take your email address and then you get adverts, or you get unsolicited emails for things.
Yes, it's all about data and information, metadata, isn't it? So people handing off. Well, that's the thing. So if people are handing off, this person is interested in these things, he or she might be interested in these things. That's the classic shopping thing, isn't it?
So here's another question for you then. So how many people would be in cyberspace if there wasn't a smartphone? So you got to come home and you've either got to log on to a laptop.
You wouldn't log on. You would just walk in the room and it would know you were here.
Yeah, but that's all right. So let's shoot. We're not in that future.
Your scenario. What your scenario is not an alternative history. All you're doing is taking the smartphone out and saying, right, there's no smartphone. Well, I'm saying there's no smartphone.
Well, that's what we. That's the.
But you can't just say there's no smartphone and therefore everything else is the same apart from the fact there's no smartphone. I'm
not saying it's the same. I'm not saying it's the same. I'm trying to understand what the difference would be. So
something else would replace it, albeit it wouldn't be a 6-inch tablet or a 3-inch phone, however big they are. It would be something more akin to all these science fiction films we've seen in the past, which were obviously wrong, weren't they? But they were wrong because they didn't envisage the mobile phone, or they didn't envisage the mobile smartphone. So that's my, I mean, I've got a premise of a different view. What's yours then? Go on.
It's how I see. the cyberspace being not as attractive as it is currently.
Mhm.
So that means that there wouldn't be
Which I'd probably
so
agree.
many.
I'd agree. I agree with you. The convenience of the existing thing is
I mean, shopping would still be a big deal. So you could argue a platform like Amazon would still exist.
well, it existed before the internet, strictly speaking, didn't it? Well, not the internet. Is this before the smartphones, didn't it? So
I don't know when Amazon.
it certainly existed before smartphones. Well, we could Google it, but I can't see why it wouldn't have existed before smartphones.
But you
shall we say?
don't need a smartphone to go shopping. And a lot of people would use a desktop or a tablet to.
Oh, it's a lot.
Well, it's easy.
I still do because I can't be doing with the tiny little screens when you're trying to decide to buy something. So I like the big screen.
So for me, one of the big differences that the growth of social media and the social media-y type or the consequences of social media would be different. So if you haven't got, and I don't believe things like Twitter would exist.
No, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I agree.
So Twitter wouldn't exist if you've got no way of filming videos because you're not going to video something with your laptop. All right, you might video with a tablet, but at the end of the day, you carry my Zim around. So videos.
The tablet's just a big mobile phone we're all sent on. So there's the premise.
No, but you're not walking around the street with a
but you might have a digital
12-inch tablet.
We all hold digital cameras, remember?
No, so things like YouTube would still exist because people would take videos with cameras.
Yeah, I put stuff on YouTube long before I was able to use a.
So as an application, that one would still, arguably wouldn't be
for
that
a limit. Well, no, because because we're old. I mean, I know you know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. YouTube started off as a means of sharing your family videos and stuff. It's nothing like that now. It's TV. It's multiple TV channels, and you can watch anything ever made. Somebody's bootlegged it onto YouTube. A slight exaggeration, but certainly clips of.
But having a smartphone isn't one of the key deciders as to that functionality. That evolution would likely have happened anyway, regardless of the device.
No, I disagree.
Having a handheld
because
device.
you're sat in a family scenario, or you're sat at work, or you're sat on the bus, or you're sat even whilst in the pub with friends, and somebody's speaking to you, and one of the people in the team are looking at a video on YouTube on their phone. They're looking at it, as at the same time, in very commas, as doing something else.
All right, so there's a consequence then. So they wouldn't be looking at these things if they're in the pub.
No,
but actually be talking to each other then.
Yeah, and they probably wouldn't be bothered if they had to go and log into their laptop or even tell a machine inside their house to present it onto the TV. They couldn't do that because somebody else is watching the TV. And if you say, well, got all of your own TV, well, all of your own TV, essentially you've got a smartphone. But so that wouldn't happen. So YouTube would exist as a family sharing video service. It wouldn't exist as a glorified TV channel and repository of a clip of every video ever made, sort of thing. So
how fast we evolve would be different.
Yeah.
But I think that anyway, YouTube as an application would still be there because it's still usable within the environment of a tablet, laptop environment.
Indeed.
But so if you take out social, you could say if you take social media out of everybody's lifestyle, or out of the world, what would have happened? What would happen? Well, people would talk to each other a bit more. Would there be less hate speech? Would there be less conspiracy theories?
Yes, but I wouldn't over-egg the influence of social media on society. I mean, the number of people who have access.
What I'm saying is that so if you don't have a smartphone, is there a social media?
A smaller version of, but nothing like as big.
Okay, so then what does that do within society then? If there's a significantly smaller social media impact,
I mean, you'll disagree with this. I strongly disagree that social media has any impact on society. It's a bubble. It has a people being horrible on Twitter has an impact to people in Twitter. I think less than 1 in 8 of people in Great Britain, and we can Google it, have access to Twitter, and that's even less now because people are leaving Twitter. So, just because people on the TV talk about
a social media platform now.
Yeah, but just because people talk about it on the radio all the time doesn't mean they say that it impacts on people's lives. I don't, and I'm not disputing that some people have lost their lives because of it, horrendous goings on. But that is not an impact on society. That's an impact on a very small number of individuals, tragic and all the rest of it. But
so you don't think a lot of people have been influenced.
Well,
adversely.
give me an example.
What if somebody who? Well, we've got friends who look at
Yeah, but what have they
social media and
they
go,
done?
"Oh, well, this is true
What
because
they
it's on
done-
social media."
What have they?
All I'm saying is they've got their minds. They believe something that is patently not true,
Correct, but in the
and that
1940s,
happens. So does that happen a lot or not a lot?
yeah. But as I classically say on social media, when people say I can't, when people say I can't believe people believe in X, 25% of people think they've got fairies down the bottom of their garden. 42% of the population believe in some all-seeing, all-dancing entity somewhere to the left of Jupiter somewhere, so-called God. 42%.
But then that was true before the internet was correct.
Well, no, but my point,
No,
my point being is people believe all sorts of garbage. It's what's the impact on society to believe people believing that Bill Gates is injecting something into us, which is allegedly spread through social media. What's the impact of that? Well, the impact of that to me is zero.
Well, to you personally, but it doesn't mean to say that it hasn't had an impact on people that didn't
is that impact
have have a coronavirus vaccine.
Well,
Many people didn't have a vaccine
that's
because of what they've read.
Possibly a positive outcome, because you can't beat Darwinism, then can you? It's I am being very tongue in cheek to a large extent.
No, I know you are, but at the end of the day, but then you're not denying that it would have it's had an impact.
Yeah, but tangible is measurable. How do you measure that? It's not. Social media impact is It's overblown by the owners of the social media companies in the first place. And then it's overblown by media companies who like broadcast news channels who like reporting it because people think, oh, that's dreadful. But if you actually say, prove to me how X and Y, I can actually think of a good example, but I've got an answer for you. I'm not going to give it, but I might give you this one in a minute if you haven't thought about it already. But I have got an answer for it. What's the tangible impact? Because the obvious tangible impact this year was the riots in the UK. Now they were encouraged through social media, but the social media they were encouraged by was WhatsApp. Now, is WhatsApp, strictly speaking, social media? Because it's closed user groups, to use an old-fashioned expression.
No, but don't forget, if we're talking about
the Farage riots, as they're known as in the UK.
Yeah. So, but would they have, if you've got access to a handheld device which gives you visibility of that, rather than you got to sit down at home and log onto your laptop and look at it, that is the accessibility of that information is completely different. Because walking around town or sitting on a bus, being able to look at all of this stuff rather than not being able to look at it must have a difference.
Well, you say that, but then where's
WhatsApp may not even have been, without smartphones, would you even have WhatsApp? Let's face it, you can message each other on
just a messaging application that people can join. I mean, iMessage, which is the Apple equivalent of WhatsApp, it's just using data channels to.
No, I know how it works.
Well, I know that. But, so the question is, were the Farage riots encouraged by social media? Is WhatsApp social media? Debatable. Would the Farage riots have happened without social media? Yes, because we've got a direct equivalent just 10 years before. In 2011, there were riots in the UK, initially caused by the shooting of a criminal in London, and then copycat riots around the country, which very quickly, within minutes, they turned into just raiding TV shops and stuff and stealing goods. There was no social media to speak of. It certainly wasn't Twitter and WhatsApp, and Facebook existed, but people didn't need to know through those mediums that riots happened. They were broadcast on the news. So again, how much does social media? We're kind of going off piece to me, but how much does social media impact the world? I'm not convinced.
We can always bring up the T word. Your chum.
The T word.
No, Trump.
Johnson. Oh, Trump. Well, might be right. Yeah. Apologies for anybody who knows the real meaning of that word.
I'll try and beep it out.
What, Trump? But again, are you going to say that?
So, are you saying that if there was no social media, there wouldn't be any difference in that space?
Who is influenced by something in social media? This is the question. And would they have been as equally influenced by the
millions of posts they spent on TV? Answered it though. So would there have been a change if you hadn't got somebody who was?
Do you mean a change?
So from a political perspective, in terms of giving your perspective, all you've got, if there's no social media, is either the news outlets or printed media.
Well, no, you've got adverts as well, remember, which is they spend hundreds of billions, or certainly
Yeah,
hundreds of
but on the
millions of pounds.
TV.
Yeah, but they don't. Why would they spend hundreds of millions of pounds on adverts if they had no made no difference? So that must have a massive impact, surely. And American adverts for politicians are not like British ones where you get some sort of
Oh, I know, but
5-minute thing.
there's a significant difference between having an advert and somebody sending a message, 500 messages out in capitals about opponents. You can't react to that quickly with a TV ad.
All right, but who are these people who believe that Trump's dreadful and then get
So
stage
if
thing
you're
on?
saying it would, all I'm trying to get to is if you say it doesn't matter,
It must have
social media would made so
It must have some impact. Oh,
no
fine.
difference whatsoever.
No, I would
to
not.
that political
No, it must
landscape.
have some impact. But then the other team, inverted commas, do it as well. So it doesn't equalize out. Or are you suggesting that Trump supporters are more suggestible because they're stupid?
No, I think
I'm glad you
think
that
if you
thing.
look at the output, their social media output, it's completely different. It doesn't react in the same. They don't react in the same way. They react as if it's some sort of political program on the TV. They don't go, "Oh, this bloke's a liar and he's a cheat, and I'll put him in prison."
No, I'm sorry to disagree because I've seen the people describe Trump as a liar and a fascist. I mean, well, actually, and a rapist. None of which is not true, by the way. But
that's not what Kamala Harris has put in her. Yeah, well, you were talking about what the opposition.
Yeah, but she literally called him a fascist.
That was on TV.
Yes, but don't you think it was on social
Yeah,
media?
but we're talking about social. Yeah,
but don't you think it was on social media as well?
But if there was no social media, then unless you're watching the TV, you're not going to see it, are you?
Yeah, but that works in both directions. So whatever Trump was
that's
saying,
what I'm saying. So if all you ever saw of Trump was the TV or printed media, and there's no social media, a lot of people wouldn't have heard any of the.
Well, no, but that's because that's a circular argument. Because the problem is that when you've got there is admittedly a large chunk of individuals, probably people below 30, who don't watch broadcast news. I'm one of them. I'm not below 30, unfortunately. They only get their information through social media. But if there's no social media, they can only get their information through some other mechanism, which is either broadcast television or printed words. So, it's a bit of a circular argument. What's the word?
Yeah, but what are they going to
Catch-22.
read though? What are they going to read then if they've only got? So you've got news.
Well, they're not going to read anything because most of them are very uneducated. So they're going to watch TV and get adverts in between the TV. That's what they're going to see.
Yeah.
So social media.
Adverts at the end of the day, the advert still has to be planned, filmed, and then broadcast. It's not something that you can just react to in 5 minutes based on somebody else's.
Quite slick, actually, and you're right. I mean, up to a point.
It still isn't. It still isn't. Oh, I want to do an advert today and broadcast.
Yeah, but I think the impact of things like sites like Twitter. I think you're a bit incorrect if you believe that somebody's just reacting. An individual's typing on a phone. Oh, look what he's just said. They're all sitting in great big bot farms waiting for a selection of things, and as soon as they get selection A, they've got selection.
No, but I'm talking about the individual candidate, not people who are reacting to what it says.
No individual candidates were tweeting anything themselves. You don't really think Trump's tapping on his phone, do you, during the election?
Yes.
Well, sorry to disappoint you.
Well, so somebody is making a decision to study capitals.
The guy can't wipe his own. Never mind tap on his bloody phone. So he is certainly not.
Well, I know it's probably the wrong subject with you, anyway. So,
but it's true of any. It's true of any. All of these major celebrities and political. They employ people to do this, and they don't employ people off the street. They literally go to companies who do it for them.
I'm hoping that any listeners out there, that this is one subject which might get somebody saying something.
But the point being is that
we're on Blue Sky now as well as Twitter.
Yeah, well, indeed, we are.
Let's stop for a word from our sponsors.
Hey, Pete, I know we've had a few, but is this your house? Or are we about to barge into your neighbor's naked yoga session again?
Not this time, Mike. Check this out.
Whoa! Is that a Dayglow door dangler?
You bet. It's the hottest trend in home security and personal style. Not only does it help you find your door in the dark, but it also tells everyone, hey, I'm fun, I'm slightly nuts, and I'm not afraid to glow.
But what if I want mine to say, keep out?
Dayglow door danglers are way customizable. Choose from over 29 designs, including Hello and welcome, Do Not Disturb, and my personal favorite, Jog on There, Mate. Dayglow Door Danglers, the bright, bold, and subtle way to say what's on your mind. And your door.
I need this in my life. Can I get one that says, Belly Buster breakfast this way?
Absolutely. Glow big or go home.
Dayglow Door Danglers. Oh, tech, no. They've only gone and bloomin' done it again.
Today's episode is sponsored by O Techno, helping yesterday, today. O Techno is a subsidiary of Uncle Schnookums Enterprises, wholly owned and operated by Deforest Co. Global, pioneers in transforming the world's rainforests into your favorite products. All rights reserved. No claims or returns will be honored.
And we're back.
The point is that if you remove social media, the proportion of the population who currently only get the news from social media, well, they'll have they'll have two choices. If they get it from somewhere else, they won't get anything at all. You know, and a large chunk of them won't get anything at all, and will fall back into the I vote X because my parents vote X and all that sort of stuff, or I vote Y because.
Well, then that's a change, then, isn't it? You were saying there wouldn't be any change. You know, you say
No, we were talking about the impact. We were talking about the impact of social media.
yes.
Yeah,
We're trying to
right
get
off
to the
peak.
point of, well, if we didn't have social media, because social media is very much driven by smartphones, it's a very smartphone-driven function. Without it, even you agreed that social media would be a much smaller,
Yeah, no,
much lower scale application within cyberspace. So, from a political perspective, you're saying people would potentially start voting more like they did in the 80s.
correct.
So there would have been an impact then.
Well, no, because it depends what we mean by more in the 80s. I don't think that social media influences to any massive degree how people vote. So the actual impact is negligible. People just vote by or decide how to vote by other means. They wouldn't change how they vote. How they got the information would change, but they would still vote the same, because I don't think social media impacts how people vote. Who are these people who are influenced by social media? They're either idiots, or they're already people who are having their biases to either direction that reinforcement bias. I like Trump. Oh, look at these tweets. Oh yeah, I'll still vote Trump. I like because Sir Keir Starmer, look at these tweets, I'll still vote for him. It's reinforcement bias. It doesn't actually move. The number of people it moves through social media, I don't know what the figure would be, but if it's more than 2%, I'd be amazed. You know, and do these people actually physically go and vote? You know, who knows? So the impact of social media, I think, is overblown. That's not to say that you can't make it look quite impressive, because the people who are interested in promoting it are more than happy to have people on the TV complaining about social media. I mean,
I'm glad that this is an excitable subject. That is good. You know,
well, how many people? If you take away, half a dozen unfortunate cases which are repeatedly publicised on news channels and stuff, how many people have you known who personally have made life-changing decisions in their life because of social media? I'll give you a clue. Mine is zero. I've not known anybody who's had their health ruined by social media. I've not known anybody who's been, forced to do something they didn't like through social media. I've known lots of people who made crazy decisions in life, but they didn't do it through social media. You know, so I'm a social media skeptic in that regard. So I think the loss of social media in our scenario. So what?
Okay, but that's more to do with a personal thing. So
no, I'm asking for evidence.
Or political.
Well, no, I'm asking for evidence to the contrary. Where is the evidence that social media is doing X, Y, or Z in Western civilizations?
Well, I don't have any evidence. I'm just here to poke the bear.
You hear these surveys that teenage girls are as miserable as they've ever been. Teenage girls have always been miserable, because the whole point of being a teenage girl is not very great, is it? You know, teenage boys are always lacking in confidence, etc. Or teenage boys have always been horrible to girls, etc. It's always been the way. You don't need social media to make them like that. They're like that already. It's called maturing and growing up. You know, some do and some don't. You know, so again, it fits into the narrative. Oh, look at this dreadful stuff over here. We need to do something about it. Anyway, in the meantime, 1 in 3 children in the UK are living in poverty. But let's not talk about that, eh? You know, it fits a narrative. Take it away. Would it make a huge difference? No, because I don't think it has a huge impact. But I still think the thing is, you walk in the door and go, hello, Tell me about this today. Really smart. Really
what would
smart.
what would
Really
people
smart.
do then? So let's face it, you do it, I do it. Look at your phone every 5 minutes or every 5 seconds, go out, still look at your phone. Right, so no smartphone. What do you think?
Well, plenty of
you
people
know.
don't do that, to be fair. I mean, of the older generation.
Yeah,
But
and I wouldn't class. I would class people of our age would do it.
yeah, but we watching tech. Not meant. We watching tech. So I mean,
I see lots of people now who are using their phones all the time, and certainly the younger. So you do 20 years younger, so between 30 and 60, the majority of them would do it.
if they're on their own,
And when they're in,
well,
well,
I don't see. I don't see.
forgetting the age, just say there was there's no smartphone then. So what do you think?
People used to sit. That's the thing, though, John. People used to sit staring at their lump of plastic even before there was any smart applications on it. Do you not remember that? You would look at if you're on a if you
Oh,
were
so you're saying you'd go into a restaurant, everybody would be just staring at the table.
no, but if you were at a bar or a pub, and back in the day of mobile phones before smartphones, and whoever you were meeting was late, you'd get your phone out and look at it, just so people wouldn't think, oh, what's that sad guy doing standing on his own in the pub? So you would look at the phone and shake your head, going, oh, he's late.
Yeah, but not everybody would be doing that. I'd say so. We're almost saying it'd be exactly this. I can't see how it could be the same if people are looking at many.
No, I'm
people
not
look at their phones when they're out, and now
But-
what are they looking at?
Well,
Well,
not
if
looking-
you're saying they're looking at something else.
Perhaps they're having a conversation.
Well, I'm only trying to get to the bottom of what do you think would have been a positive. Do you think that's a positive?
Well, it depends what the conversation's about, doesn't it? Ultimately, but I don't think it's a positive. It depends.
But would it be a positive? No.
It depends what it doesn't it? It depends what the conversation is. I mean, this is all very micro, but it depends what the conversation is and what they're previously looking at on their phone. I don't know.
Well, don't forget, if you haven't got the device to, take your attention away, you haven't got what's the alternative? You have to talk to the people who you're with. It just means there's more social interaction, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, to be fair, when we go out with our other friend and go for a coffee, or occasionally, a couple of friends go for a meal, we don't sit staring at our phones, do we? We might refer to something on that's
every time your phone beeps, you pick it up.
Yeah, because I've got a child at school who might be ringing me to say, "Come and pick me up." I wouldn't be doing that in the evening.
Yeah, and you wouldn't be doing that if you didn't have a smartphone. You'd just assume. Okay.
Well, because I'd get a text message potentially, which is this. It doesn't have to be on a smartphone, does it? I mean, if it's
But then that's probably because of social media that schools were doing that. They didn't do that when you were at school.
There wasn't any mobile phones then. We were talking about smartphones, aren't we?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. We're talking about the inability to use your phone.
So before smartphones and you had a phone that had text messages, did your school ever send out text messages? No, they didn't.
My daughter wasn't at school.
Yeah, my kids were, and you don't get text messages from. You didn't get text messages from school.
No, because there wasn't a means of broadcasting to a list, was there?
Right, so you wouldn't be looking at your phone thinking. All I'm trying to get to is.
Well, you wouldn't have to look at it. It would make a noise, and then.
But you wouldn't be expecting. You wouldn't even think somebody's going to text you.
Yeah, but that ability to text multiple phones is not a smart application-based thing inside a phone, is it? I mean, it's you access.
Oh, I know. Well, I'm just trying to get to the point that the fact that schools might use that functionality now is probably being driven by social media, not by.
Oh no, because they're not using social media, are they? That's
I didn't say they were using it. I said it was driven by.
Why would it be? Well, why explain why it'd be driven by social media?
Because things like group chat were driven by social media, not by text messages.
What's group chat? What do you mean group chat?
Like in WhatsApp.
They don't use WhatsApp.
No,
because not everybody has WhatsApp. But
that's. But I'm saying that the concept of having a group chat came out of social media. Didn't come out of texting. That was never a function of texting.
Well, I disagree because in Apple you have iMessages and you've had group chat.
Smartphone. There's no smartphones.
Yeah, but why is it?
Have that?
What you're saying is the definition of smartphone is a phone without a data connection. Sorry, a phone with a data connection then. Because a BlueBerry and a Nokia, something like that, they had, what was it called? GPRS, which was barely data, but it's an edge and stuff.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that iMessages is unfortunately something associated with the iPhone. So if we haven't got the iPhone, you can't have iMessages.
Yeah, but you were saying that the group message stroke chat drove the ability to send multiple text messages.
No, I said it drove the concept of having group chats that you then use within a different technology, i.e. texting, where you want to contact lots of people to tell them something.
Well, okay, all right. Well, I'm happy to take that premise. Yeah, okay. So well, I think the genesis of how you're describing it is questionable, but I'm not a bit, there's no way of knowing really, is there? But because it just happened. I mean, to be honest, I'm not totally sure. I know how they send out multiple text messages, but I'm pretty certain they use a laptop to do it. I mean, can't imagine somebody sitting there with a phone tapping it away. But
I'm sure it isn't.
We're given some of the guff that I get from my daughter's school. I think they might be using a phone, but never mind. But
Anyway,
yeah. So let's try and
wrap this up.
Right. So in summary, Trump's still an idiot. No, anyway. So seriously, I agree with you. I think I agree with you mostly that social. Oh, I think we're in agreement that
You did.
social media isn't a thing. It's very much family driven. Its impact, we can disagree on its impact because I don't think social media has a real world impact to society. Might have an impact to individuals, but then so does the bus down the street being 3 minutes late. But it doesn't have an impact to society. So I think we have definitely more. So what I was going to go on to say was I think a smartphone's an interface, and I think a different interface would have been developed which would have been audio. All right, you can't say to something as you're walking down the street, play me a video, because you've got nothing to present it on. But within the home, I think that a whole new interface around properly smart AI-driven machines, which have got nothing to do with mobile phones. Why not? I mean, I think you'll find that the Alexa app we've got now, or smart speakers that which are glorified clocks, radios, occasionally the weather forecast, which is quite useful. In 20 years' time, they'll seem laughable, but. And you might, we didn't talk about Google Glasses or whatever, smart glasses. You could present it on we could talk about this all day. But maybe you could use is a smart spectacle, call it what you like. Is that the same as a smartphone? I don't, possibly not. It's using the same technology, I suppose, and all said and done. So it's a bit of a cop out, isn't it? But anyway, I think we missed the opportunity to have a look at a new interface because the cyberspace exists. All that data is there. All that product is there. The smartphone is how you currently access it. No smartphone. Well, how else would you access it?
I would only counter that in that without the smartphone and things like having a handheld, nobody walked around with a camera every day. You wouldn't have videos. You wouldn't have photos. That data wouldn't be in cyberspace.
Yeah, but I'm talking about
the amount of information that's actually available would be significantly less.
I'm not talking about the sort of the videos of people falling over in the street. I'm talking about the films and the clips of TV programs and the memes, of historical celebrities.
Yeah, they wouldn't exist.
Well, they would exist because they weren't produced by people with handheld. They were cameras.
Well, they came after smartphones. They weren't there before.
What?
The internet? They weren't there when you were just using a laptop or a desktop.
You've been framed. Didn't exist before smart.
No, memes is what I was talking about.
Yeah, but all right. But the memes is just a container. I mean, the actual content of the meme, 9 times out of 10, it predates the 1970s. Or 9 times, exaggeration. 4 times out of 10 it's sort of classic 1970s cop shows. There's a little 5-second clip of somebody saying "Bookham Dano" or something. A dreadful example, but that's all I think off the top of my head. But those things, the content exists. How you present it, possibly. I think you're right though. I think things like memes and 5-minute shorts, 5-second shorts, they don't exist. But slightly longer stuff, it's all there. It's already been made. How do I present it? How do I access it? Well, I don't use a smartphone. Well, what do I do instead then?
Okay. Anyway, we've come to the end of our time on this one. So hopefully it's got people thinking of our many listeners, many listeners.
Who may be using their smartphone, presumably, to access us. Probably are, yeah.
I assume so, yeah.
If you weren't using your smartphone, what would you be using instead?
So just as a reminder again, we are on Twitter and Blue Sky. I was going to say Blue Space. Blue Sky. And
you missed a chance there, John. You could have a Blue Space as a primary, whatever Twitter is.
ORC_time. Yeah, that's right.
Ranting application. Yeah.
And we're still on Facebook, Conversations in Time. So any feedback gratefully received, good or bad. And I'm hoping we might.
That's it.
One of these days.
We know you enjoyed that. Or
So,
maybe you
thanks a
didn't.
lot for listening.
But why not
look out
let
for
us
the next
know what
episode.
you think?
We'll be
But you
speaking
can
to
go
you
on
soon.
Twitter
Thanks
or
for
X if
listening.
that's the way
Bye
you
for
get
now.
dressed,
Bye.
and search for ORC_time to find us. On Facebook, simply search for Conversations in Time and leave your thoughts right there.